Good morning. Welcome to Red Tool House. Today I'm going to do a quick update on our garden. I know it's been a little while, so I just wanted to show you what is been a challenge and what has been rewarding in the garden. And so I just wanted to bring you along as I do some chores this morning. But first, before we go into the garden, I wanted to show you a couple of the beds that are outside of the garden gate. Before we enter the garden, I just wanted to show you these two beds. This bed in particular was carrots and garlic, and we've harvested a few of the garlic, but they are very small. I would not call this a success. It looked great for a long time. It is past due pulling it up, and there's not a ton of it, but I'm going to go ahead and harvest the rest of that today. The carrots have been mightily overgrown with weeds, but there are quite a few good carrots in there, so we're going to see what those look like as well. As far as this bed here, it's not really a bed anymore. As you can kind of see, there's not really anything, and I'll bring you in close so you can see there's just a few small plants in here, but mostly weeds. But what happened was Troy and I were away at camp, and we took timber with us as well. And when we don't have timber out in the yard on a regular basis and at night kind of keeping the deer away, the deer just come back in, and the deer pressure has been extreme this year. We have had quite a bit of drought, and it seems like it just brings the deer out from everywhere to anywhere that there might be something that might be lush and good. So when we came back from camp and we were only gone a couple of days, this bed was completely decimated. As a matter of fact, we just went ahead and took down the fence. We just really had some, not really fencing, but some bird netting that we had put around it. And you may have seen one of those videos in the past that shows us putting that up. But that didn't deter the deer. And as a matter of fact, they were standing in the bed eating everything that was there. Got a few strawberries, and most likely they will come back for next year. We do have some flowers on a few of them. Oh look, a strawberry. But you can just see where the deer were standing in the bed and helping themselves. So I am going to head into the garden now, and I've got a few plants that need to be tied up, peppers specifically, and so I'm going to do that while I'm out here, give some things trim, and I'll show you what everything is looking like right now. So one thing I want to mention is, since we've had such high deer pressure, the plum trees have been munched on a few times and are actually looking a little better now, starting to fill out again, but that has happened a couple of times. Whenever timber is away, the deer know, and they come and they just attack everything. Also, one thing I wanted to mention is, if you possibly saw the video where Troy was showing how we could water the plants without using our well water, he left the gate open, and so that very night deer made it into our garden and chomped on my sunflowers here at the front, and also chomped on peppers here in these first beds. Thankfully, they didn't make it too far into the garden, and these things are springing back, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, beep beep. Oh, it's so sad. You want to come in too. So here are a few of the sunflowers, and they just came in and took every leaf off of these. These hadn't had any blooms on them yet, but they just came in and stripped these few sunflowers that we have here in the front. Here is another one, but they are coming back, and this one has quite a few buds on it, so that's going to do okay. A zucchini plant over here. Here is my first trellis, and we have not had any green beans from it yet. Again, and this is going to be the story throughout the garden, is that we have not had rain, and before Troy brought up the watering system to be able to use water from the creek to water the garden, I just didn't come out often enough to water from the well because it has been so dry. We were I was a little concerned about using so much water from the well, and I didn't want to run out of water for our house. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is it just hasn't been done. So the plants didn't get as much water as they needed this season, and so a lot of things are kind of late. We did have rain within the past couple of days. We're still not back to where we need to be. We've got a lot of dead grass in our yard, and it's just been really, really dry. But I'm so very thankful. We have had some rain this week, and expecting more today, and hopefully some more within the next couple of days. It seems that this summer the rain has just gone all around us. We'll see the big storms coming, and they just kind of close or open up around us, and we don't receive any of the benefits. So as we enter here, here's this first trellis with the green beans. It looks pretty good now. We'll see how many green beans we're able to harvest from it. And then all these front 4 raised beds, we have bell peppers and onions. And you'll see, I'll bring you in here, I have harvested all the onions from this front bed. We had onions growing in between all of these peppers, and I believe because they didn't get the water that they needed, I'll show you what they look like, but they are not huge. And so I went ahead and harvested all of them from this bed, but I'll show you the others because I'm going to go ahead and harvest those. Even though they're small, we will definitely use them. I'll turn around and show you this front bed. We've got some white snapdragons in here, and I just trimmed those yesterday. I've got some more blooms coming on. Again, here are those front sunflowers, and I had one zinnia that was a volunteer from last year. So this monstrosity is Troy's elderberry, one of the many, and you can see all the berries on there, but you can also see how it is hanging over any space here in this bed. It's hanging over some of these green peppers. It's definitely hanging over back there in that back left corner. So he's trying to take over, no matter how much I cut him back. So here is the one zucchini plant that got planted. I don't know if you can see all of this, but this is not dirt lying on top of the fabric. It's just where the fabric has disintegrated. Not happy at all with the cheaper fabric that we bought from Sam's. Won't be buying that again. Get out of the garden. Oh, go on. Go. Thank you. One of my very favorite things this year has been the flowers. These are poppies, and this was a mixed variety that blooms all different colors, and I've never grown poppies before, and they have just been so pretty. Here is the other front bed with peppers. These onions I have not harvested, and they will need to be harvested, one of the projects I'm going to do today. Peppers are doing really good. I've got a ton of peppers, ton of really big peppers that need to be harvested, but I'm trying to leave them on so that they will turn color. So these in the 2 beds where I'm standing are all red bell peppers. I want to get as many red ones as I can. I'm going to harvest some as green, and then I've also got orange and yellow. Here's one of the beds that's got some stalk flowers. These were called an anytime mix, and although they are nearing the end or don't look quite great at this moment, they have been really pretty as well. I just had them along the edge of this end of that bed. So here's the front bed again with peppers, and these are the ones that we grew from seed, and these are the ones that I bought from our farmer's market. Both of those are red, and I've got a ton of them in here, and I don't know if you can see with this lighting, but there are some really humongous peppers in here. I keep thinking they're gonna break the plants before I can harvest them, so I just keep tying them up to give them extra support, but I want them to turn. I don't think I've ever had peppers this big before, and they not turn color yet. And here again are the 2 beds on the right side of the garden as you walk in the gate. Again, these are peppers that we grew from seed. I think these are mostly orange on the right here. These are yellow. This one back here is a jalapeno. And so is this little guy right here that we replaced. He needs some support to stand up. But again, I've got quite a few peppers in here. And this one back here needs to be tied up, so that's one of the things I want to do today. So this trellis really provides some great relief for a sweaty farmer when they're standing out in the sun. So stand under here for just a second. So here we come back to the tomatoes, and we have these individual beds. We've got 3 rows of 6. And in this front row, we have the row closest to me are Romas. This second row back here are Oxheart. That were not supposed to be Oxheart. These were all in the individual beds were supposed to be Roma or some type of paste tomato, and they were marked incorrectly at the farmer's market. So we're going to get a lot of Oxheart. This third row back here is, well, 2 of them at the very end over here are Oxheart that were not supposed to be Oxheart. And the next 4 here are San Marzano. And let me come back. I have not harvested any Romas yet, but they are loaded. Lots and lots of tomatoes. We wanted to have a bunch of paste tomatoes because we want to make as much tomato sauce, pizza sauce, marinara, those kinds of things, which I've made in the past, but we wanted to make quite a bit to preserve, to last us through until next fall. And I want to turn you around. We had this trellis here that is basil and tomatoes intermittently along this trellis. We've got 1 Oxheart that I purposely planted. This was one that I grew from seed, this tallest one here. And that was the only Oxheart I was intending, but that's where it is. Then we've got a couple other slicing tomatoes in here. And then again, basil intermixed. We've tried to cut the weeds down with the weed eater as I can, but as I got close to the pumpkin vines, I did not pursue that anymore. This here, the biggest tomato in the whole garden, is a volunteer from last year. And I've gotten quite a few tomatoes off of that. It's huge. So here are some of the Oxhearts, and the plants themselves are looking pretty bad, and they've been trimmed quite a bit, but it is what it is. Here is one pumpkin that is hanging on this trellis I was showing you, and we'll need to give him some support as he gets bigger. Here is that volunteer tomato that is growing, and I've got a few tomatoes down in here to be picked. Oh, several. And he just continues to grow up this trellis. And then these were just a few green beans that were volunteers. It's a nasturtium blooming. Planted nasturtiums along with my pumpkins, hoping that it would help with the bugs. Our lettuces, as they bolted, I've been taking them out individually. We had some much bigger plants and I've just got a couple left there. But been taking them out individually and feeding them to the chickens to give them greenery on a regular basis. And of course, any tomatoes that are split or are not good, I throw over the fence to the chickens. And they're waiting for anything I might have to throw to them today. This got some raspberries that are looking ripe. So I've talked about this in a previous video. This was our first experiment with the individual beds for the supposed to be paste tomatoes, the Roma tomatoes. And we thought that might be good for being able to weed eat around them without worrying about harming the plants. Also, it's been great for when I have to drag the hose in to water them. It keeps, the hose stays along the ground and it's not trampling the plants. However, we've put these a little close together. And as Troy has added trellis, as you'll see in this one here, much longer or much wider than the trellis, it makes it very difficult to walk in between the plants now. So we just walk around for the most part. There are spaces where you can get through, and especially as the plants grow bigger, you don't want to damage them by walking through. Let me give you a view from this angle. So most of these we're not able to walk through. Speaking of the chickens, we have a few that get out from time to time. Actually, we have a couple that get out every day. And as they get out, they have been prioritizing getting out into the garden instead of on the other side of the fence where they would usually get out. And so they've been helping themselves to tomatoes as they walk through the garden, and if they see any that are red, they just decide to take what they want. So fortunately, I've been able to get what I want. The ones that have been ripe enough to pick have been the ox heart, and like I said, I didn't want a ton of those anyway. We are going to use what we get and what we can get, and we'll use those for tomato sauce and all of the things that I want to make. Also, paste tomatoes are just much easier to have to process. They don't take as much time to cook down, that type of thing. So anyway, we'll still use those. I'm not as upset about it since they are right now just the ox heart that the chickens are getting. But as all of these Roma tomatoes begin to ripen, then that'll be another problem. But we have tried to set the fence up a little taller, make that a little bit more difficult for them to get out, but like I said, we've got a couple that get out every day. Also, Troy has caught in 2 traps. We've been trying to get a pesky raccoon that is now hanging out at the chicken church. We had issues with the mobile coop down in the meadow, and now it seems that the raccoon has moved up to the chicken church, or another raccoon is up here and has been getting into the fence. It seems that the fence is not affecting them. And so he's laid a trap out for a few days, and he actually has caught 2 items. We'll see if he posts that on his video. We actually had a hawk visit our chicken church recently. I was upstairs and happened to be watching out the bedroom window, and I didn't have my glasses on and I couldn't see very well, but I saw this bird or creature, this white blob that I couldn't quite identify because it just looked a little strange. So I went over to the window, put my glasses on and looked out, and there was a hawk inside the pasture here, resting on one of those wooden beams with a dead chicken at his feet. So we scared him off and haven't seen him back since, but we've been trying to be more cautious and attend to that. So anyway, are you enjoying the shade of the trellis? He likes to check on the garden veggies as well, don't you? And he likes to pick his own harvest, and so he'll take the tomatoes, ripened or unripened, outside of the garden gate and play with them. I guess he thinks they are a ball to play with. What do you say about that, Timba? Did you harvest anything today? So thank you for joining me. Just wanted to give you a quick garden update. We've had some success, we've had some failures, but that's pretty much the story every year. Looks like we're gonna have a great pepper harvest, hopefully, if we can keep the chickens out, keep anything else out. It looks like, although the onions were not in the best shape, it does look like we will be able to get something that we can use, garlic as well. Waiting for these green beans to put on a harvest. I'm starting to see flowers now, so hopefully we'll be able to harvest some green beans, and tomatoes are looking good. I'm going to do some harvesting of maybe a few peppers, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up all of the onions and garlic for today. But thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next time.